Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all. You are welcome here. On the forum of Watching Consciences on the front page of international news, the world was surprised by this decision. In any case, not surprised. But the world felt shaped by this American decision to block visas and Palestinian officials. You know, soon the UN General Assembly and the headquarters, it's in Uncle Sam's country then, but to get there, you need a visa. And so America decided to block the visas of 80 Palestinian officials. This situation causes enough ink and saliva to flow. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video conference. But before we continue, I humbly ask you to share this video conference as much as possible. Put a lot of like and don't forget to put your different opinions in comments. So let's go with the official information. What is the substance of this American decision? What are the facts and what is the immediate impact of this decision? It must already be said that this is a blockade of Palestinian visas. The United States revoked the visas of 80 Palestinian officials, including Mahmoud Abbas, on the eve of the UN General Assembly. So this decision prevents the Palestinian delegation from taking its cause to the international arena. Because they will no longer be able to go, and therefore they will no longer be able to take the floor at the United Nations to be able to say what they think about their situation. And so it gets a little complicated. We see clearly that Washington decides who can talk to the ONU. Washington now decides who can talk to the ONU. And I believe that a text should normally be provided which forces America to let all countries enter when the UN is already giving its course. Because like that, it's America that controls everything, who can talk and who can't talk. By refusing the visa, they cannot and will not travel to the United States of America. So it must already be said that the UN is weakened by this situation. And on the side of France, France is in trouble because the UN General Assembly should be an opportunity for France to plead for a Palestinian state. Did you know that France has already spoken out on this? France wanted to plead for a Palestinian state. Obviously, this would be good in the presence of Palestinian officials. But the problem is that there is no Palestinian interlocutor. This approach loses some of its legitimacy. When people talk about you in your presence, that's fine, but there won't be anyone else. So here is the other immediate scope, the other direct implication of this American decision then. What amounts to a direct obstruction of the UN headquarters agreement. The UN headquarters agreement obliges the United States to facilitate the arrival of delegations. As I said earlier, America has an obligation to facilitate the arrival of delegations under the headquarters agreement, which allows the UN to have its headquarters. But here America is violating the siege agreement. America is avoiding its obligation for geopolitical reasons. Which aims to satisfy its interest. We already know what is happening between Israel, Palestine, in the Gaza Strip, and so on. We therefore know that the UN is the best place to discuss global problems. If the Palestinian officials come to the naked, and it is obviously to put their situation on the table of the world to discuss it and see how to find a solution. But America does not want that because apparently if this situation were to be debated at the UN General Assembly, a strong decision was going to be taken at that level and therefore it is a violation of the headquarters agreement. The United States is trampling on its own international signature. We are looking at this from a purely legal point of view. Is this what America has the right to refuse? To revoke the visas of Palestinian officials, obviously taking into account American legislation of international law. And so this situation, which makes enough ink and saliva flow, has several geopolitical and strategic implications. First, it is a show of support for Israel. This is a continuation of US policy. Pro-Israeli, we have the impression that it is the gentlemen of Israel who said, good, we must not let these people go to O naked. And America, which has power over the UN since it is America, which gives visas despite the headquarters agreement. So the UN cannot jump on the American authorities to bring delegations. That's impossible. Unless maybe we find another planet, the planet Mars, that will house the headquarters of the ONU. But already all this proves sufficiently that the UN is a very weakened institution, an institution that no longer has value as such. And so Washington seeks to weaken Palestinian nationalism and prevent any diplomatic breakthrough in favor of Palestine. Washington is playing Israel's game. It is very clear and it reinforces the image of total alignment. On the Israeli line, by closing the door to the Palestinians, Washington opens a boulevard in Tel Aviv. That's what it means. And then gradually, at least after this American decision, we are heading straight towards the opposite of peace. So in relation to this situation, there have been a lot of reactions. There was a balance of power at the international level. The Palestinians are now denouncing a violation of international law. They say that international law is being violated, and when we refer to the headquarters agreement, international law is being violated. America only has the duty to facilitate the coming of the delegations of the various delegations to the United Nations. Then several states, including member states of the European Union, are preparing to criticize this blockade as a dangerous precedent. For global diplomacy, this is where America shows its true face. So this affair, which highlights the UN's dependence on its American host. Voila, ça explode. The UN is weak, the UN is failing because it is weak in front of the country that welcomes it, which receives it in terms of seats. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this blockade demonstrates America's influence over UN operations, spotlighting the organization's reliance on its host country and weakening its global stature.